You guys know throughout the year 2023, we had the chance to try out and talk about some of the best free-to-play games available. But I thought before we wrapping up this year, it's nice to make at least one video talking about some of the worst free-to-play game releases in 2023. So I'm going to rate this game according to the Steam user reviews. So none of these games picked upon my personal preference or my personal opinion. And also let me know down below if you had the chance to try out some of these games yourself. So it's going to be a fun video to watch. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, at number 10, we got a game called Robo Warcraft 2, and right now the game is only having around 35% positive reviews on Steam. This is a game I personally haven't played, but it's basically a PvP, more like a vehicular combat style of a game with decent amount of customization and tons of destruction. It definitely wasn't a perfect game with tons of general issues and tons of people complaining about the boring, repetitive gameplay loop that the game had, especially comparing with the previous Robo Warcraft game, which was actually a pretty popular game back in the day, initial release back in 2017. So definitely people have more expectation when it comes to a sequel, but it's sad to see it wasn't delivered on that promise. Next up we got a game called Gunwatch Conflict Survival, and coming at only around 33% positive reviews. It's basically a free-to-play arcade first-person shooter with a dedicated Call of Duty Black Ops style zombie survival mode and regular multiplayer PvP matches up to 16 players. Yes, on the paper the game sounds promising, but overall when you're looking at it, the game feels very incomplete. Still feel like a very early stage of development, will pretty rough around the edges when it comes to animation, gunplay, and just overall feel of the game. The game could have been a lot better with regular updates and could have developed into something very unique, because you're lacking this type of a Call of Duty style zombie survival mode, especially on the free-to-play market, but unfortunately that wasn't really the case. Alright, next up we got a game that I actually talk about in my channel, and that is a game called Project F, and it's coming at only around 32% positive reviews. At the initial launch, the game actually had some decent player numbers on Steam, so I thought why not check out this game and made a video about it. And overall I did not like the game at all, and it's more like a combination of Rainbow Six Siege style game mode with Valorant like abilities, and overall it didn't feel that interesting to me at least, and the gunplay was pretty terrible, just feel like you're playing a mobile game on your PC. And other than that, the game also got some general issues like server issues, the game crashes, and also the other players who also try out the game at launch definitely had similar type of issues, and mostly negative reviews on Steam right now definitely suggest that. Moving on, we got another game with only 32% positive reviews on Steam, and that's a game called Green Island. Never heard about this game? Don't worry guys, this is my first time hearing about this game as well. But seems like they mentioned this game on Steam as an action sandbox style survival game, but in reality it's more like a tech demo with Unreal Engine 5 assets, where you just run around with the empty open world with absolutely nothing to do. The game does not give you any introduction or any guidance to what you should do in order to progress, and if you go ahead and read some of the Steam reviews, which are pretty funny, and that's pretty much sums up this game overall. And they're also selling a paid DLC for this game with the upgraded map assets and different resources, which is pretty hilarious, so do not bother with this game, it's absolutely not worth it. Next up we got a game called Shrieking Darkness, coming at only around 26% positive reviews on Steam. It's basically a first-person horror survival game where you simply walk around in the pitch darkness with absolutely nothing to do. You have a bunch of weapons in the game, but the gunplay is absolutely terrible. Animation, the overall fluid of this game is pretty bare bone in my opinion. You simply walk around in snail pace from point A to point B with pretty much nothing to do. And funny enough, one guy mentioned on the Steam review saying this is a torment simulator. If his kids piss him off, he will make them play this game as punishment, which is pretty hilarious in my opinion. Next up we got a game called Hawken Reborn, coming at only around 25% positive reviews on Steam. This is a first-person action shooter where you simply customize your ultimate mech and try to shoot hordes of enemies in this single play campaign. Honestly, the reviews did not receive very positively, mainly due to this being a single play game compared to the first Hawken game, which was a pretty popular hit back in the day, but it's something that I wasn't familiar with. But apparently people had a lot of expectation for this sequel, but they ended up receiving a pretty boring, repetitive gameplay loop with a single player campaign. And for the most people, the overall first impression about this game wasn't that impressive, and the mostly negative Steam reviews definitely suggest that. Next up at number 4 we got a game called Terabit, which is basically a 3D open world voxel based like Minecraft style of a game, and right now sitting at only around 21% positive reviews on Steam. And honestly, this is a game that I haven't heard or played before, but according to most of the Steam reviews, the game had a lot of potential early on, but ended up being a pretty unfinished game, and the game wasn't that original, being a mixture between Roblox and Minecraft. It was definitely not my type of game, but if you already played the game somehow, go ahead and share your opinion down in the comment section. Alright, at number 3, sitting at only around 20% positive reviews on Steam, is a game called Mobile Suit Gundam Gundam Battle Operations 2. It's basically a free-to-play team-based action shooter based upon the Mobile Suit Gundam series. I think the game was initially released back in 2018 for the consoles, but very recently released onto the Steam as a PC version. But not to surprise, the game got overwhelmed with negative reviews, mainly because of the broken matchmaking and the insane queue time that the people have to wait to get into a match. But even after that, there are tons of general issues like connection losses, performance issues, server issues, and ultimately ended up having only 20% positive reviews on Steam. Alright, at number 2 we got a game called Into the Cylinder, coming at only around 17% positive reviews on Steam. On their Steam page they mentioned this game as some sort of a space survival MMORPG, but ultimately the game ended up being a pretty empty, bare-bone kind of walking simulator type of game where you just simply run around through the open world and picking random stuff. Even though the game is online multiplayer, I don't think anyone would play this game right now, so do not bother with this game. It's absolutely not recommended. Alright, at number 1 spot, coming at only around whopping 15% positive reviews on Steam, and you guys might know this game, and that is the Overwatch 2. Yes, the game has tons of issues when it comes to gameplay, matchmaking, and also some microtransaction DLCs. Especially if you're a die-hard fan of the previous game, yes, you're definitely going to be frustrated and disappointed. But for someone like me who haven't spent tons of time playing the previous game, I actually ended up enjoying Overwatch 2, especially at launch, and I didn't bother with anything that people complain with the game. I just downloaded it and gave it a try because the game went free to play. But I can definitely understand the frustration, especially if you're someone who's playing the game more competitively. But overall, I felt like releasing the game on Steam kind of a mistake on their side, because people did not take it kindly and they bombarded with negative reviews, ended up being one of the worst reviewed games in 2023. Well, that's pretty much wrap up today's list, guys. And overall, what do you think about this list? And if you had the chance to try out any of these games, definitely share your experience down in the comment section as well. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the content, go ahead and drop a like on the video and also subscribe and stay tuned. I'll catch you guys soon in my next video. Stay safe.